Hey, what's up, Unbroken Nation? Hope that you're doing well wherever you are in the world today. Very excited to be back with you with another episode with my guest, Alexis Alcala, who is the founder of Inner Camp. Alexis, my friend, what is up? How are you today?
Hi. Hello, Michael. Thank you for having me on the show. Very happy to be here with you and to have this conversation.
Yeah, me too, man. When we connected a couple months ago and you told me a bit about your story, your journey, and what you're trying to do with Inner Camp, I was like, man, I love this guy. I think we need more of this in the world. So I'm excited to
Mhm.
get into this to talk about so many of the incredible things that you've been able to uncover and discover in your own journey and in the ways that you're helping other people in their healing. But before we get into that, tell me something I need to know about your past to understand who you are today.
So maybe I could say, we talk about 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I was working in IT. I was working corporate. So I was having like different roles like project management. So managing many people by just a few hundreds I would say millions of dollars. And I had a lot of responsibility. I thought that happiness was about the salary, was about having money and promotion, getting promoted. And there was a point where I felt really broken, when I felt like I was not able to sleep well. I went to bed and I was not able to sleep until 3, 4 a.m. every day. I was not able even to accept the noises from neighbors. I started to have problems, digestion problems. I became a celiac person. I became also intolerant to lactose and to different things. And I realized that something was happening in my life and I was completely broken. I thought that my whole life, people, society, my parents, everyone told me that happiness was about getting a good salary, was about being a manager, about getting promoted. And I realized that I was like, completely broken. I was really unhappy. I was supposed to be like successful according to the society, but I was really unsuccessful. I had even a session with a therapist and I was talking like very proud of myself. Yeah, I have this, and I'm a successful person. And the psychologist told me, yeah, for me, you are not successful because you are very unhappy. And then this was like, boom, a huge insight, like, oh, wow, you are completely right. So I started to change things in my life. This was like 10, 11 years ago. And I started to try different things like different types of therapy. I started to try breathwork. I started to implement also tantra in my life. And I realized that I was completely disconnected from my body. My body was asking me for support, was asking me to stop, was asking me for attention. I had many problems in my body and I completely abandoned my body. And I had a huge disconnection between my mind and my body. And my body was talking to me and I didn't listen to my body. So this was the first time I was really listening to myself. I was really connecting to my intuition when I discovered really different techniques.
Mhm. Yeah, it's interesting, and this is something I've talked about a lot. We, from a societal standpoint, we're told make money, get the house, buy the cars, have a big bank account. And it's so interesting to me. Like, I'm not saying you shouldn't have those things because I believe in abundance and I want people to have a life and the lifestyle that they love. But I think more importantly, it's like there's this thing about happiness that we're lied to, where people say, when you get these things, you'll be happy. And, when I look at my life, when I was in my early 20s, I made a ton of money and I was miserable. And today I feel very secure financially and I'm very happy because I'm in alignment. Right. And I think that's the biggest thing that people miss out on. One of the things that you talked about was not being able to sleep, having these stresses, not listening to your body. What was it I guess really what I'd love to know is what became the foundation for you deciding to create this change in your life? Because I think so many people, they think about this. They're like, I'm going to go get a different job. I'm going to go to therapy. I'm going to do breath work and tantra. I'm like, I'm going to try these things. They don't really ever do it. And so what I'm wondering is like, why did you decide to go and take that next step?
Yeah, I think it was like an explosion because it was like every day when I went to the office or I had to travel to a different client because I was traveling a lot in different countries. So it was always the same. I felt like I was repeating the same pattern all the time. And also, I was already tired of not being able to sleep. I went to the office. I was really sleepy, tired. I was really not enjoying and to really not enjoy my life. And I had problems always with my digestion, and I felt like very uncomfortable because it was like, hey, but like I would like to be just normal. And maybe it was not like a big crisis, but it was like many small things. And I understood that this was not the life I wanted. And I thought that there could be something more than that. So it was like, I would say, different factors, like many small things. When I said, okay, I'm going to try, and the first thing I tried was actually theater. It was like kind of theater sessions where we had to act, and it was like psychodrama, and we had to act and to play different roles. And then I started to realize that something was going on. I started to realize that I had many limiting beliefs, I have prejudices, I have really many things. So this was somehow also shaking my life, shaking also my thoughts. And I think this was the beginning. So when I realized that I needed a change. And then I started to try like therapy, different types of therapy. I started to try different sessions. I was living in another country because I'm from Spain. So I was living in Germany in that moment. And it was also difficult to access like in Spanish, like some kind of therapies or some kind of techniques, or in English was a bit difficult there in Germany. So I had to do everything online. So it was like small things what I did until one day I decided to go to Thailand, and I went to a school where they taught yoga, meditation, really many different things. And I wanted to just have a break because I felt like a bit burnt out. And then I remember one of the days I went to, they recommend me to go to a breathwork session. So I had no idea about breathwork. And then I went to a breathwork session. It was like a room full of, 40, 50 people just breathing through the mouth like crazy, yelling, crying, and doing really weird things. And then suddenly, in some point of time, after 10, 15 minutes breathing this way, I went really deep inside. I was able to see traumas. I was able to see memories from the past, from my childhood. I was able to see the pain in my family, the pain down my brother as well. So I was able, for example, I didn't have a good relationship in that moment with my brother. And suddenly I realized that I had to be closer to my brother. I realized that, hey, I want to bring my brother to Thailand as well. So I started to understand many different things. I started to feel also a lot of compassion, a lot of love. And I said, wow, I never felt like this in my life. So I want more of this in my life. I want to just have more love, more compassion, more acceptance for myself, acceptance for my family. I want to forgive. And this was the beginning for me, actually.
I love that. And, it's funny. I lived in Thailand as well. I spent a long time down there in Chiang Mai, Koh Phangan, Koh Samui. And I spent a lot of time at different places just trying to explore these elements of myself that I had never explored. And a lot of that was through breath work and meditation, sound bowl healing. I did things like saunas and deep immersion into yoga practices. And then it was like, okay, I went to Indonesia, and then I went to Malaysia, and then Mexico, and then, all over the world, just trying to just explore and see if there's something here that fits me. And I'll be honest with you, man, some things just I did not relate to, right? Some things did not work. Like a static dance, I could not want to do something less. Like it's terrible to me. Like I do not relate. But it's in the experimentation, right? Like in the breath work and in the yelling and letting out those primal urges. That's where you really can find more about who you are. And you used a word that I think is really beautiful that enough people do not talk about, and it's acceptance. And I think so much of acceptance can create freedom for people because we stop having expectations of each other. But most importantly, and I don't know if this happened for you, and so I want to know, what did acceptance for yourself look like in this journey? Because I think the one thing people struggle with, and I struggled with the most, man, I was such an to myself all the time. And it was like, once I got to acceptance for myself, my life really started to change. And so I'm wondering, what was that journey like for you to accept you?
This is something I learned with Tantra. Sometimes people think that Tantra is only about sexuality and about orgies, things like that, but it's not actually only about that. It's only 5% of Tantra is sexuality. So something that I learned with Tantra is about having compassion. It's about accepting my wounds. It's about saying, hey, I have shadows and I have dark sides, and maybe I'm not like 100% healed. I still have traumas. I still have limiting beliefs, but still I accept them. And I feel compassionate about them. And okay, little by little, I'm going to heal them, as I'm going to do my best to heal them. And I know that I still have traumas. I still have limiting beliefs, etc. But then I'm going to take the time to work on them. And for me, very important is to accept that that is part of myself, and not to feel like shame because something is not working or because I have a prejudice. Sometimes I really feel like I have prejudice or I have a limiting belief, and this is part of me. Yeah, it's not like I accept it and then I don't want to work on that. It's more about, hey, I know that I have it, and then maybe in the future I will be ready. It's like forgiveness. Sometimes we're not ready to forgive so easily. So I know that I need to forgive someone, but right now I'm not ready to forgive. I will forgive when it's the right time for that. So I think when I started to accept things, when I started to accept myself or my family or other people, I started to enjoy life. And I started to, okay, this is part of life. This is part of the human condition. Sometimes like when when we go to spirituality, or when we go to breath work or to meditation, it's like we need to be perfect. We need to be enlightened. Or if you are a yoga teacher, you need to be a vegan person who is like this and respecting always 24/7, those principles. And we are humans as well. So we can sometimes, not follow these principles, not follow these values, and sometimes make an exception. It's also about learning. And something that I learned with Tantra is about desires for, sometimes people say, oh, I want to, or they have like a strong desire for chocolate, for example, or to eat something that is not healthy. Okay, I want to eat something like fast food. And something that I learned with Tantra is not about forcing you, pushing you to not do it. It's more about, I'm going to eat it. I'm going to enjoy it. But then at the same time, I'm going to be conscious. I'm going to ask myself, why do I need to eat this that I know is not healthy for me? Or why, who am I when I'm eating this? So what is really happening? So from an acceptance perspective, so accepting that this is what I need, and through this action, I'm going to learn more about myself. I'm going to learn more about my life. I'm going to learn about what is very deep inside.
In the acceptance also, I think one of the things that happens is that, and you mentioned it, and I want to go into this a little bit deeper, is that you do get to this place of forgiveness, right? For you, for your family, for the things you've done, the things they've done for you, for the traumatic experiences you've had. And I think that's one of the more difficult parts of the journey. People ask me all the time, having had a mother who was a drug addict and alcoholic and an abusive stepfather and all that, they ask me all the time, like, how do you forgive? And it took me a long time to realize, like, forgiveness is for me. It's not for them, right? If I decide to forgive you because of an indiscretion, that's a decision I'm making to let go, right? And it whether or not it changes your life, I don't give a right? For me, it's about, I'm letting go of this. And one of the struggles that I had, probably more than any struggle that I really faced, was forgiving myself, because I did really horrible things, right? I've lied, I've cheated, I've stolen, I hurt people, I did things out of my character, anything to really fulfill those human needs that we have around connection and community, and feeling like we have a purpose, and, you know, having certainty and all of these. So it was like I would do things out of my character to chase fulfillment, basically, right? And a lot of those things were poor decisions. But it was like, obviously, through doing the work, getting deep into myself, studying, learning, having a therapist, having a coach, I was able to get into forgiveness for myself. And so I'm wondering, how did you forgive yourself? Like, what did that process look like? What were the things that you had to do to forgive yourself within the space of, like, acknowledging and accepting?
I think, first of all, understanding that when I did something wrong, or I heard some people in the past, it was not because I was a mean person. It was because I used the tools that I had in that moment. I used the wisdom, the knowledge that I had in that moment, and I had to make the decision. And maybe this decision was what hurt them. So it's first accepting that I was not trying to be mean. I just tried to do my best, or I tried to find love. Sometimes, sometimes the alcoholic is not someone that just want to drink alcohol just for fun. It's just because they want to hide a lot of pain. They want to hide trauma. They want to hide some stuff inside. And it's because they just want to disassociate for a few hours, and they just want to feel peace, and they want to be happy for a few hours, and they feel so much pain. So first of all, understanding that, the purpose was not to be mean. And secondly is with time. With time, I think I can forgive myself, and accepting who I am, accepting my shadows was the way for me to forgive myself. I still feel like I need to forgive more areas of myself. And this is still a journey, and probably I will continue this journey for the rest of my life. But breathwork was something that really helped me to connect, because in breathwork, normally you feel like a transpersonal experience. You feel like connected to everyone. You feel like connected to everything. In some point during breathwork, you can feel like you are part of everything, and you are not like a singular person, and you are not alone. So this is really helpful to realize that, hey, this is, I'm not alone. I'm part of something bigger. So I can forgive also other people. And this is part of the collective pain. This is part of, and we have also limited tools, and also it's trying to see beyond the people, beyond the physical person. This is something I also learned in Tantra. Is something that we call transfiguration, something like to see the sacredness of the other person. So trying to see that behind there is something like wishes, desires of being loved, for example. So I would say that also, for me, forgiveness was something as well that, it took me some time and some breathwork sessions to really reach that point of forgiveness. And I think it's not so easy. I think also sometimes we focus so much on forgiving that it's not about the act of just forgiving, not on, because sometimes we just focus on forgiving, and we stay on a superficial layer. And very easily what I find in like more cognitive therapy is that sometimes, or what I find in coaching is sometimes is with the mind, we try to feel things, or to forgive people, or to accept people, or to feel compassion in a way that where we use only the mind. And I think also using the body is very important. So, the connection of mind, body, and soul. So if you feel like, if you, for example, have the trauma, or if you feel like you feel the trauma in your body because of, for example, your parents, and you push yourself to forgive them. So this is not going to happen. So you still feel the blockage in your body. So you need to work with your body you need to work with your body and also with your mind. So probably was important for me as well is to work with my body, is to release from my body. Because when I started to do all these activities, I felt like I was completely blocked. I was sometimes not able to dance, not able to move. I felt like I had a huge armor in my heart. I was not able to really love. I was not able to become vulnerable, or to talk about deep things with other people. So for me, it was also important to release all the stuff that I was having in my body, that was blocking my body all the time.
And those releases can be really beautiful, but also very uncomfortable. And it can evoke a lot of emotion. Sometimes those emotions are anger, right? Sometimes it's sadness or grief or loss. Sometimes it's also joy. Like I've had those breathwork sessions where I'm just like laughing. I'm like, what the f- am I laughing for? You know what I mean? And so it's like there's something about the physical embodiment that we have as this spiritual being is so much about letting things exist as they are. And we fight so desperately. I don't know if you've done this too, but it was like I used to fight so desperately to be angry. I was like, I want to be mad because the world. And it was like I would fight so desperately to be right because of my ego. And I'd fight so desperately to have all of these things in the world that I thought were happiness because that would make it feel better. And what I discovered, and still what I'm discovering, because like you, man, I think I'm always going to be on this journey, right? Even though I'm 13 years into it and I've coached all these people and we have this podcast, dude, I still have a therapist. I still have a coach. I still go to retreats. I'm still always going deeper because there's so many levels. And I believe this, and I know it sounds weird to people who don't understand it yet, but there's a quantum healing that happens genetically and energetically, both of our past and of our future, when we show up and when we do this work. Because you're effectively changing timelines. You're changing and ending the generational trauma that you've been through. But it's so uncomfortable, right? And I want to go into this for a second because, I think there are people who believe that they're never going to be healed. I think there are people who believe that even if they join our programs and they come into our coaching and they may even listen to this podcast all the time, they still believe that healing and love and compassion and joy are not for them. And they're just trapped in stuckness. My theory on this is that they're trapped in that place because they have not yet learned how to regulate their body. And I know that you and I are very good at this because it's become a part of our daily practices. And I want you to talk about like how you actually regulate your body, how you get your brain and body and soul connected, because I believe that it is that connection in which you find healing.
Yeah, I think regulating the nervous system is very important, and it makes really the big difference. For me, using the breath is the most powerful tool. So I spend like 2 minutes, 3 minutes doing connected breathing through the nose. And then for me, I feel like very grounded, very centered. So very easily. Sometimes when because I'm teaching to you people who are going to become breathwork facilitators, and sometimes I explain to them that, hey, you don't really need to run a 1 hour session for your client or for someone to help them. You can just do 1-2 minutes of breathing, of connected breathing, and people can already feel centered. They can feel grounded. They can feel, if you feel stress with anxiety, etc., if you're having a bad moment, you can really feel more centered. So just breathing through the nose in a connected way for 1-2 minutes, like not making pauses between inhalation and exhalation and inhalation, closing your eyes, maybe standing up, maybe sitting down in any position, and then just connecting to your breath, feeling your breath, bringing your breath to your belly, expanding your belly. So this is really a really great regulation tool for me. So this works really well for before any workshop, because I teach very often online or in retreats, in workshops. So before I start any activity, I regulate myself because, okay, it's a new activity. So I'm nervous. So I am very excited. So I need to be centered. And it takes a couple of minutes really to feel centered. So using the breath is a great tool for me. Of course, meditation, mindfulness can also be helpful, but for me, the most powerful tool is to breathe.
What do you think is happening in the body when you're getting centered, when you're getting regulated? What do you think is happening that allows people to heal? Like, why does it work that way?
First of all, you feel like you're in the present moment. You don't think about the past. You don't think about the future. You connect to your body completely, because we are always in the mind. We are breathing through the chest. We are doing shallow breathing normally. So we are stressed. The way we are breathing normally is a way that makes us feel more stressed. So it doesn't help us to feel relaxed. It doesn't help us to feel more calm. So when we breathe in this way, more powerful, deeper, so we're going to feel more present. We're going to feel the body. And sometimes we can even feel like, hey, something is going on. So what happened to me is that I started to realize that I had problems in my stomach. I had problems in different organs. I started to realize that I have some problems in some, like my posture was not right. So I started to feel the connection with my body, basically, when I started to breathe. So with just a short breathing exercise, you can connect to your body, you can feel present, you can forget everything about your past, you can forget everything about the future, and just to be here. And then when you realize that you are here, and then you are perfect as you are, and you are not broken, and you are concerned because of something that might or might not happen in the future, is when you feel like, hey, I'm okay. Everything is fine. I'm just speculating about the future, but I'm realizing that right now everything is fine. So I don't have any reasons to be concerned.
Yeah. I think you really hit it right there, because presence is everything in this journey. And as I've been on my healing path, I've really come to discover that like anxiety is about the future and depression is about the past. And it's
Exactly.
like, it's so fascinating to me, man, is I cannot change the past. Like it is there, it is done. I'm not saying like stuff it down and make it go away and pretend it's not there, because I don't know that that ever happens. I mean, even this morning I was brushing my teeth and I was thinking about this traumatic moment with my stepfather as a kid. And I have talked about that moment in therapy, and I have done coaching in it. I've journaled about it. I've done the work. It still comes up. And then I just take a breath. Literally this morning, I was just like reminding myself to be here. In the future, it's so easy to get caught up. We start thinking about the future and we're like trying to make all these things come true and to happen and to push and to go 100 miles an hour. But it's also like, you may not make it in 3 minutes. You might be dead. And you're so caught up about the unknown. And it's like the only thing you truly have control over, like, is right now, this second, this choice, this decision, the words that come out of your mouth, the food you put in it, the people you're around, how you're expressing yourself, how you're showing up. Like, it is this moment that dictates that, nothing else. And that space of presence is so healing, because when you're in regulation, you're in your parasympathetic nervous system. And so you're in that rest, digest, recover. You're in the place of meaning making. You're in the place of processing. And even, I mean, I don't know about you, but I probably stop to breathe like 40 times a day, 50 times a day, where it's just like, maybe it's one or two breaths, or maybe it's just for a minute, or maybe I'm getting on stage and there's 5,000 people in the room, and I'm just like, and so
Yeah.
how important do you think it is? Actually, I'm gonna ask you a different question. How do people become more aware when they are not breathing?
Um, when they are not breathing, I would say that they are not aware. So it's really hard. You are going to be thinking. So you are not breathing because you're not breathing, then you are going to be very focused in your mind. You're creating thoughts, you're creating ideas, you are judging, you are thinking all the time. So this is associated to not breathing. So as soon as we feel exhausted, or as soon as we feel sad or stressed, you can just try with just breathing deeply, just one breath, as you did. And then this is going to make you feel like more centered. So the things that when we are breathing, we are connecting to the body. So we can know more about what is happening in the body. So the things that is sometimes it's hard because you are thinking so much, and then because you are not breathing, then you cannot connect to your body and you cannot feel like there is some stress. Okay. So my recommendation is really to try to incorporate the breathing to your life. So when you create a habit, for example, this 21 days, 7 days, breathing every day. Okay. Every time you wake up, you do some breathing exercises. Then slowly you can learn how to incorporate breathing into your life. So sometimes for me, after 10 years of breath work, for me, it's very natural. I go, for example, I'm in a place with many people, imagine a supermarket or in a festival or in a retreat. And then I feel like a lot of energy from many different people. Sometimes, you go in a bus and then you sit down next to someone, and you can feel this energy, and you feel like you hear even the conversation they are having, and you feel like it's affecting you and it's impacting you. So the best is to breathe and to exhale it. When you exhale through the mouth, you can really release this sensation, this feeling, this energy that is coming from outside.
Yeah, and I think it's so much about that. Just can you notice, right? Do you feel stressed? Do you feel tense? Are you biting down in your jaw? Are you, scratching yourself? Like there's so many different like small things. I think it's just if you can just bring a little bit more awareness to your physical being, to your environment, to what is happening right now, like that's where I really believe that you're able to step deeper into this journey because our bodies really are well, one, I think that they are built entirely to find a way to survive, right? We know this. Like the ideal of the human body is to figure out a way to live as long as you can. And then the other part of it, it's to help you understand how to navigate the world, right? That's why you get adrenaline and anxiety in some scenarios, which actually is super healthy, right? Getting anxiety about someone posting on Facebook doesn't make any sense. Like, right? It's like you're not in danger. So why do you do that? And so it's like, can you get into the body? Can you get into the breath? Can you get reconnected? Because most of us are disconnected. We're on our phones too much. We have too much caffeine, too much porn, too many cigarettes, too many dating apps, too much like, and then on the other side, too much work, right? We're working 100 hours a week and we're running multiple companies and we're not connecting with our children and our spouses and our sex is disconnected and we don't know which way is up and we're constantly going 100 miles an hour. And it's like, for what? It's like, for
Yeah.
what? What is the purpose of all of that chaos? And I think if you can just pause and get into your breath, it will really change. One of the things, you open this with that I want to circle back to, because I think it'd probably be pretty impactful for some people, is what does happiness mean to you now? Like, what is happiness today in your life? Because obviously it's not money, it's not the salary, it's not the promotions. That did not work. So what is happiness now for you?
For me, happiness is to be present, is to connect to my body, is to be aware of the sensations, is to be aware of my body, what is happening, is to be aware of the emotions, because sometimes, I'm human, so sometimes I might have emotions that are not pleasant. But if I'm aware that I'm having these emotions, then I know how to work with them. So just being aware is making me happy. And also you were saying, yes, sometimes we are so busy working, apps, this and that. And also planning the time, for example, with my wife, saying, okay, I'm going to spend some time with my wife. I'm going to spend some quality time with my wife, sometime per week. Maybe I'm very busy because I have a lot of work, many things to do, but I'm going to spend half a day per week with her. I'm going to spend some quality time. This is for me happiness because I know that I can control my life so that I'm not, let's say, a slave of working a lot or of the way we think of the being just working and doing things and performance and getting results and outcome. So having this time for me, this is happiness. It's already connect to happiness.
Mm. Yeah, so it's experiences. And I didn't hear you say anything about money. And I and my hope is people look, and money makes life easier. We both can agree with that. You
Yes.
have to have money, period.
Yeah.
You have to find a way to make money and sustain and be able to take care of your family and pay your bills and eat food. We all know that. And so I encourage people, be abundant and seek financial freedom, but don't let that be the thing that you believe is going to make you love yourself or feel happy or bring you joy, because it's not. Tell me a little bit about Inner Camp. Tell me a little bit about the work, why you created this, and how you help people.
So when I started to know more about breathwork and about tantra and bodywork, I started to realize that the world needs more of breathwork, more of experiential tools, techniques. And in 2018, I founded Inner Camp. Now we are a team of more than 20 people. And what we do is to provide teacher trainings, people who want to become a facilitator or breathwork, tantra, bodywork. So we give them all the tools, the techniques, we teach them how to use them with other people. And also it's a self-development journey as well, because we really believe that before you teach, before you facilitate breathwork, for example, you need to do a lot of breathwork with yourself. You need to know more about your limiting beliefs, about your traumas. And because sometimes, you are working with a client and then you're bringing your stuff to the client. And this is really, really dangerous. So for us, it's like a must to do some self-development and before you can go to the client. And right now we have trained more than 2,000 people around the world. So in Europe, the States, in Asia as well. And very happy to give these tools. And sometimes it's very interesting because I'm flying to different countries, different cities. Because you mentioned Koh Samui. I was recently in the Koh Samui airport, and then someone asked me, "Hey, are you Alexis from Intercam?" "Yes, it's me." "Oh, I'm one of your students in the tantra program." So I felt like, wow, it is really amazing. And it's also amazing because sometimes we get like students who have heard about Intercam, and there are students out there who are teaching, who are facilitating our techniques to hundreds of people. So when I think about the impact we are doing, because if we teach this to 2,000 people, then these 2,000 people are going to teach to hundreds and thousands. So the impact we are doing on the world is really huge. So this was my mission really when I started Intercam, is to provide tools, is to help the people with basic things. Sometimes it doesn't really require like long sessions. It's really small things. It's about, for example, breathing. You can just breathe for a couple of minutes and you can already start changing your life. So this was how and why I started Intercam.
Yeah, I love that, man. I am a huge proponent of everything that you do. I think it's incredibly important for people to get connected with their body because it's like, I know this having coached thousands of people myself. Like if you cannot get connected to your body, you cannot heal. You just can't. It's I believe it's impossible. And until somebody can show me otherwise, I will stick to that. My friend, this has been an amazing conversation. But before I ask you my last question, where can everyone find you and learn more?
So they can find me on at innercam.com or on Instagram, Facebook, or on the website, innercam.com.
Brilliant. And of course, guys, go to thinkunbrokenpodcast.com. We will put the link and more for Alexis and Intercam on the show notes. My last question for you, my friend. What does it mean to you to be unbroken?
For me to be unbroken is to be present, is to accept my shadows, to accept who I am.
Brilliantly said, man. I love that. Could not agree more. I think just accept yourself and watch your life be different. Just watch. I'm telling you, just take all the pressure off, let go of all the expectations of other people and accept who you are, and your life will be different. My friend, thank you so much for being here. Unbroken Nation,
Michael.
Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, share, tell a friend, follow us on Instagram. I'm at Michael Unbroken. And of course, Think Unbroken Podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Remember, every time you share this content, you're helping us in generational trauma, transform trauma to triumphs, breakdowns to breakthroughs, and helping other people be the hero of their own story. And until next time, my friends, be
Thank you.
unbroken. I'll see you.